Welcome back to another episode of Action Gospel. Again, I'm joined by Brian Livingston, who's the executive director over at Highway 80 Rescue Mission. He was in the last episode and was talking to us about what the purpose of their mission is over there and what they do, and how some ways that you guys can get involved. So I wanted to bring him in again. We're going to talk about some scripture that, in the midst of the world events that are going on. At the time of this is being recorded, at least, and will be brought in, and the time it will be published or set live. This scripture that we're going to talk about really impacts your mission, as well as the mission of other churches and other spiritual organizations around the world. So this is a scripture that Brian had brought to me that we're going to talk about. So go ahead and read it for us.
We're looking at 2 Timothy chapter 1. It's probably a pretty familiar passage to many people that are watching this, but we're going to pick up in verse 5, where it says, I am reminded of your sincere faith, a faith that dwelled first in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and now I am sure dwells in you. For this reason, I remind you to fan into flame the gift of God which is in you through the laying on of my hands. And the verse 7, here's the verse that really is kind of the key to this passage as far as what we're going to talk about today. It says, for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And then he goes on, Paul's writing to Timothy, he goes on to say, don't be ashamed of the testimony of Christ, don't be ashamed of the gospel, but preach it boldly, continue to do the things that you've been called to do. And so the true context that Paul's writing to Timothy here is to not be afraid of the persecution or the ridicule or the things that might be said about you because of the gospel. But I think it applies, especially right now in this whole coronavirus fear that's going on. I know particularly at the homeless shelter, we've got a very vulnerable population that we're working with. And there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of timidness. And I think we can take Paul's words here that he says to Timothy and apply it to this situation as well. God has not given us a spirit of fear. He's given us a spirit of power and of love and of self-control. Some translations say of sound mind. And what I've been sharing with my staff in relation to this passage is that we need to take precautions with this virus. We need to be careful with our interactions with people. We need to be careful to clean things. We need to be careful to do all those things to prevent the spread of it. But we don't need to be afraid of it because God's still in control. And he knew this before it even came. He knew what was going on. And that's why that passage has really just kind of spoken to me and to our staff over the past week or so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. A lot of times we talk about this scripture in particular a lot of times is one that a lot of us people are watching, Christians in general, go to for a lot of fear stuff, and it's no different with this virus than it is anything else really. We have to continually remember that who's in control in this whole situation, that God's got a plan for each of us, and we aren't going to go before our plan is his plan is finished with us, or he's finished with what he wants us to do here, and remembering that. But at the same time, like you said, we need to still have those precautions, still take them. This is a time definitely with a lot of another thing going in with what you just said about this virus is this is a time when there are a lot of leaders of our country that are making some decisions that may not necessarily be situations that they always say that this is now, I'll never do this, but in this is a different beast altogether. Mm-hmm. So remember that, and having patience with our leaders as they're doing these kinds of things. I know both of us don't agree with some of the things that they've done so far, and probably won't agree with things that they're going to continue doing. as many of you probably are the same way, or maybe we agree with things that other leaders have done. So remembering that, and remembering to have patience, and this isn't a time to be name calling or anything like that, and there really is no place for that, and there shouldn't be a place for it.
Right.
So I think this is definitely something also that we need to be continually remembering to be seeking out the truth.
Exactly.
In all of this, because people who don't speak the truth are the ones that are spreading fear.
Right.
So this is
and that goes right into our pastor at a church here in Texas mentioned another passage in relation to this that I really think is pertinent. You remember the call of Isaiah in Isaiah chapter 6.
Yeah.
And that passage starts out that in the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord seated on the throne. He was high and lifted up. And he pointed out the fact that much like in Isaiah's time, the king had died. He had been a good leader. He had been a godly leader. And now there was this uncertainty. And there was this just fear of okay, what's going to happen now to our nation? What's going to happen to our country? And we're there.
Yeah.
With this whole, no one knows how long this quarantine thing is going to last. We don't know how long this virus is going to stick around, how long it's going to affect people, what the effects really are, because it's brand new. So there's a whole lot of uncertainty. But in that time when Isaiah was experiencing, and the people of Israel were experiencing that uncertainty, he saw God sitting on the throne.
Mm-hmm.
And our pastor pointed out, he didn't see God pacing around the throne room going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He didn't see God, wringing his hands going, I'm not sure what's going to happen. God was sitting there confidently on the throne, fully in charge of everything that was going on. And he still is today.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what the government's going to do. We don't know what sort of things they're going to shut down or what kind of impacts long term this is going to have. But like Paul said to Timothy, and like Isaiah experienced, we don't need to fear because God's in control. He's got it. Mm-hmm. He knew before the foundation of the earth that in 2020 we were going to be sitting here having this conversation. Mm-hmm. And he knew all the circumstances going around it. He knew he knows the outcome. He knows how long this is going to last. He knows how many people are going to get this disease. He knows how many people are going to die from this disease. He knows it all. So instead of living in fear, let's just do what we need to do to take the precautions and keep seeking Him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And that idea translates over into a lot more everything really
life
into our lives. There are definitely a lot of areas in the Christian world mm-hmm. where we see like organizations and churches and things that definitely have that uncertainty, and in this time is not a good time. We talked about this last night, I think, or the night before. We talked about how this is not a good time for a lot of churches to be without pastors or strong leadership.
Right.
And if you're in one of those churches, this is a great place to go. Mm-hmm. And if you've got a church that is in a situation similar to that, as there are lots of churches out there, again, there are a lot of what we're seeing with this virus as we're sitting here talking about it. There are a lot of this virus. It may be the virus itself we haven't seen before, but the situation is something we see all the time. And it's just being able to translate that over into how we need to take care of it. I mean, we probably could keep going on and on.
And you could probably just close it and open up and then land somewhere.
Yeah, we can continue going on and on. But yeah, this particular podcast is more so just to be remember God's in control, and that's we constantly are on the news and everything, and there's a lot of panic over the pandemic, mm-hmm. And we need just to remember that God's in control. He's got this. Keep pushing forward, keep ministering, and this is a great time to be out there reaching out and giving hope and sharing that with people. So yeah, thank you for being with us the last couple of episodes.
No problem.
I really enjoyed having you here with us. Again, Highway 80 Rescue Mission. Their website will be linked down the bottom of this video. It was also in the last video. Great organization. If you have more questions about who they are, what they do, go check out that last video, episode 14, I believe it is. You'll be able to hear some more from Ryan about what they do and how they operate, and how you can get involved with them. But I'll go ahead and plug their not email, but their website down in the bottom of this video. If you want to get in contact with us at Action Gospel, same 3 ways. Facebook, there's a little blue button on our Facebook page. Just message me, shoot me a message on that. You can comment on this video, as well as send us an email at actiongospeloffice@gmail.com. We really enjoyed you guys being here. We thank you, Brian, for being with us again. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. God bless.